Hello, you join me today at the wheel of the future. Today, I'm driving Volkswagen's new ID.3. Hello, welcome to Furious Driving, and today we are embracing the future with an electric car. Yeah, stick a couple of double A's in the bottom of this thing because it's an EV. Now, there's almost a running joke or a meme almost, that if you're asking a motoring journalist what kind of car you should buy, the answer is inevitably going to be buy a Golf. Want a fast car? Buy a Golf GTI. Want an economical car? Buy a Golf diesel. What if you want an electric car? Well, now you can buy an electric Golf. Well, sort of. It's the Volkswagen ID.3. Sorry, ID full stop 3. I don't know why the full stop's there. Everyone leaves it out. It's much easier. Let's take a look around and see what this thing is actually like. So Volkswagen's closest competitor to the ID.3 really is the Mark 8 Golf in many respects. It looks remarkably similar. It's virtually the same size. It's about 4.2 meters long, so almost the same kind of size car. But in reality though, perhaps the biggest rival to this car will be the Nissan Leaf, because that is also a 5-door family affordable electric car. I say affordable though. The entry point for this car is just over £30,000, and you can really, if you want to go splurge, you can put 42 and a bit grand on one. Actually 45 if you start speccing it. Now, because they're not constrained by the physical shape of an engine and a gearbox in the front of the thing, they've gone a bit interesting and off the piste, if you like, with the shape. The wheels have been pushed right out into the front corners to aid handling, and the bonnet overhang is very short indeed. It's almost like a cab over truck, because you don't need the engine in front. This area looks like a bonnet, but underneath here, it's nothing particularly useful. It's not a storage area, and it's not an engine. It's basically your heater and ventilation and a top-up thing for the windscreen washers. It's basically dead space in the front of the car, which is slightly disappointing. Now, windscreen wiper fans rejoice, because we've got interesting windscreen wipers here. Clap hand wipers, because I guess it saves money when they make it into left and right hand drive markets, because you've only got one mechanism and you haven't got to swap it side to side. Now, around the back of the car we have this rather interestingly sculpted tailgate arrangement. It's contrast black, as is the roof, adding visual interest and stuff. And as in many other Volkswagens, you use the big VW badge, which is interestingly white rather than silver on the electric cars, to get into the boot. And this tailgate, it's a plastic of some kind, making it very, very light indeed. And also, it's just ordinary struts, not powered, because they're trying to keep the weight down on these things. They have kind of failed, because it's 1,700 kilos. The regular Golf Mark 8 is 1,400, so it's 300 kilos heavier, mostly battery. In the back of it, we've got 385 litres of boot space. As is their wont, Volkswagen have given you a double height boot, so you can move this boot base layer down lower, so you can have a hidden underfloor area, or you can have much deeper boot space. It's quite a shallow boot really, but it is quite wide and quite deep. It's actually 4 litres more than a regular Golf. However, if you want to start boasting about your boot space, talk to the Leaf. It's 420, masses more. But if you fold the seats down, you get 1,267 litres, which is tons. Finally, in here, there's a small storage area to put your tyre pump and wheel tools, that kind of stuff in the bottom. There is no spare wheel in this car at all, and no option of one either. The space underneath the boot, the reason it's such a fairly high floor in here, is because the motor is on the rear axle. So this is a rear-wheel drive car. So you may be stuck with an automatic transmission, but you do get rear-wheel drive, so you're halfway there. Other amenities here in the boot, we have got pockets on either side, so you can stand things up and stop them rolling around. You've got an LED light in the side, and you've got curry hooks on both sides, and a 12-volt socket for charging stuff or whatever you want to do with it. Well, it is astonishingly windy out here, so let's take a look inside the car. Now, climb into the car with your key in your pocket, and the screens come to life. They spring into awareness, and suddenly you get menus and dashboard and all kinds of stuff going on. Now, before we get too carried away, let's quickly look at the pedals. Volkswagen having a bit of a sense of humour here. Play and pause on your brake and accelerator pedals, which is kind of amusing, I guess. Less amusing is this particularly unusual decision they've made to do with the door. Now, the door is fairly normal in so much as it's a large metal aperture which opens and closes and allows you in and out. Got a nice strike of an angle through here which opens up into 3 smaller grooves, adding a nice bit of accentuation, almost Art Deco just there. Nice metal door handle, nice and chunky and tactile there. We also got multiple colours, piano black gloss front bit, which will get sticky. In fact, it is covered in fingerprints already. Going into some nice padded white material, and a dark area at the bottom with actually padded in the bottom to stop rattling, big cubby hole, so that's all good. However, this little panel of buttons here is very annoying. They love their touch buttons in this thing rather than real buttons, which is massively irritating. So you've got a real joystick for your mirrors, which is good, and you've got window lockout and door lockout just here, although the window lockout is kind of pointless because you only have 2 window switches in the door. I don't know if this is cost saving, if this is someone's clever idea or what, but to access the rear windows you have to push this button here, and that again glows orange, and then you can open and close the rear windows. Although quite frequently what I have found is that if you've climbed into the car and haven't pushed the car into gear, it won't operate the rear windows, or for any windows. And the owner and his son, who've both driven this car a lot now, that oftentimes you push the button and, as it's doing now, literally nothing happens. So you've got no access to your rear windows. Oh, it works at last, and after 10 seconds or so it goes back to front windows. This is a bugbear. I think everyone who has been involved in driving these cars absolutely hates them, so they're hoping on the Mark II that will vanish. Now, moving into the main dashboard, we've got lots of striking angles, bold shapes, rhomboids. This is very Star Wars inspired, looking at things like this area here and the transmission control over here on the right. But most of all, it looks like it's been inspired heavily by the BMW i3. The twin colour choices, the white dash top into the dark dash lower, the massive T-shelf, which is extremely good for a cup of tea or a coffee, many cakes, interesting trapezoidal speaker in the centre of there. But very, very, very i3-ish is this gear selector here on the right of the speedometer display, which is all you have in terms of stop and go controls, really, apart from the accelerator, obviously. So no gear shift, no handbrake, nothing really. Just twist it, rotate it, I should say, to get into drive, or B for braking, I assume. Back to neutral, back to reverse, at which point the reversing camera will spring into life on the main screen. And if you want to park the car, hit the P button, that's handbrake, or park brake I should say, and lock in the transmission. So there we go, that is all we have. Also lifted from another car are this steering wheel, which is from the Golf 8, and the 10-inch screen. Every version gets the 10-inch screen. That's also from the Golf 8. Now, on the steering wheel we do have cruise control, mode buttons, many other things. View control button, which is for controlling what you see in this small drivers only screen area. Here we've got P pushed. Okay. Then we have indicators and adaptive cruise on this stalk on the left, and wipers on the right. Thankfully they are on proper stalks, not stupid hidden controls. We also have the horn in the steering wheel, so let's do a quick horn test. That's a disappointing horn. No, that's a 3 out of 10 for that horn. Yeah, this is not the horn of the future. Next we have this little panel here for maybe less used controls. Let's zoom in a little for you. This has got your main defrost, fast rapid defrost, rear screen heater, rear fogs, front fogs, and your lights. It's all touch panel irritation. The things I'm not a massive fan of. Leave it on auto, turn that off, turn that off. You also have, as you do that, it does stuff over there. I'll put that back to auto if I possibly can. I think I have. Right, so yes, this is basically annoying. It's the kind of thing that some designer somewhere has thought, awesome, that's really lightweight, that's really small. Basically it's not, it's just an irritating little faff. Also vaguely irritating, not the screen itself. The screen is beautiful quality, it's lovely, crisp and clear. You have many panels of stuff giving you a phone, your car settings, navigation obviously, and this even scrolls up further. And you can have your apps, your CarPlay, your Android Auto, all this kind of stuff. It's all in here. But the trouble is, it's all in here. Everything is touch. You've got dual zone climate, which I'm going to turn that down. Turn it down, turn it down. Now, looking for the fan control, I'm going to have to hit the climate button, and then I can look for where on earth will I find fan control. Fan, let's turn it to low, thank you. Crikey, that's irritating. I just want that on a thing on the dashboard. I don't want that in a screen, 7 menus in. That's just irksome at I say at best, there's no best about it. Left and right controls for your dual zone climate, your volume control for the radio, that is probably the only thing you can find there. I haven't even found the radio yet. It's in there somewhere as well. Interesting that there was an update on the software, the firmware for the car, because previously the car was engineered for left-hand drive, so the home button was over here away from the driver. So we find radio? Yeah. Shush, that's just irritating. It's a beautiful screen, the quality is amazing, but they've done this thing which designers keep on doing at the moment, which is throwing everything onto the screen and hardly any buttons at all, and it's just really annoying. I don't like it at all. I want buttons back. Seat did this with the Leon screens about 5 years ago. I think it went across the Volkswagen range where the screen was integrated into the dashboard. One version had buttons, solid buttons down both sides, about 8 or 10 buttons for doing menus and things, and then you used the touch screen. The next version went all on screen, lost the side buttons, and it was really annoying. Everyone hated it, but you know, they persevered with it and they've come back to it again. So yes, here we have that. Now, underneath that we have got two big air vents, which are apparently impossible to turn off. Over on the left hand side, massive T-shelf, tiny glove box. Half the glove box is taken up by whatever that lump of plastic is. The other half it's basically as big as that, which is not big at all, so not particularly helpful. Because we've got no transmission tunnel, everything is in the back of the car and the batteries are under the floor, we've got a small lump just of a rigidity in the car's chassis. So we've got a little flexy thing, which I guess you could put a phone in, or I don't know where else you want to put in there. Double cup holders, so place for T-shelfery. This area here is a cubby for junk, and this is an inductive charge pad. So you can drop a phone in here and it's out of sight, so you can't be distracted by it, but it will charge at the same time. If you've not got an inductive charge phone, we've got a pair of USB-Cs in this large area here, which I would say is big enough to hide a moorhen in if you're interested in stealing wildfowl. This does cover over, so you can keep your day's hunt safe in there. Now these seats are kind of cool. They've got this blended design going from dark to light to dark. Very much like a 1990s throwback, I would reckon, actually. I kind of like it. This is like a micro fleece material on the outside and kind of a hard-wearing cotton on the outside. I'd maybe call this velour. It looks like it's actually worn a bit already. This car's only got a couple of thousand miles on it, so I'm not sure this is maybe the wisest choice. And that's the passenger seat, not the driver's. Now when you've finished demonstrating stuff, there are armrests which are nicely padded on both front seats, and you've got lots of headroom in here. It's quite a nice space to be in. And looking up above us, we have got the optional pano roof. It's nice and airy, and from the outside you actually can't see this car has got this. It looks like a pure black panel, but it is a glass roof. Let's have a look in the back. Now, clambering into the back of the car, you'll notice it's got stadium seating like in a Discovery. The rear seats are higher up than the ones in the front, so you're sitting quite well back. I think it's actually slightly larger for legroom and headroom than the rival Leaf. It's actually quite a nice space to be. Got lots of room for my feet, and I'm sitting fairly upright, but I've got nice space. I'm just touching the top of my head into the ceiling if I stretch up a bit too much, but otherwise it's quite a nice place to be. I've got a pair of USB-C charging points down here, so I could charge my phone or my iPad with Nintendo. In the centre of the thing, I've got a couple of cup holders in the armrest, which is nicely padded, and we've got a ski hatch into the boot for long loads, and of course the seats do fold 60/40 back here as well. Nice bit of design on the doors. We have this floating piano black area here, which looks pretty cool. There are actual rear windows in the back here, so if you are a rear seat passenger, you can undo your window yourself. Big cubby hole, speakers in all four doors, and more of the nice solid metal door handles, and the sculpted finger marks in the door panel. All very nice. If this didn't have the pandemic roof, it would be a bit more headroom, because these glass panels, when the additional padding, always sort of take in a little bit of headroom from you. Now, being a pure electric with this whizzy little drive knob thing, as soon as you hit it into drive, you're good to go. The car kind of turns on at that point and you're away. And you set off in, not absolute silence, but certainly hushed reverie. It is very quiet, very relaxing. Now, when you look on the Volkswagen website, the first thing that springs up instantly about the ID.3 is it's got the longest WLTP range of any electric car at 263 miles, which is a pretty random fact when they offer one with 330 something miles on it. On this car, there's a baffling array of 9 trim levels and 3 batteries. So For the most part, they are this car, which is a 58 kilowatt hour battery and a range of around 263-ish miles, give or take. There's an entry-level car called the City, which has a 45 kilowatt hour battery and a range of 217. But if you want to splash out 40 something thousand pounds, you can do. You can go and get yourself the Tour, which has got a 77 kilowatt hour battery, and that will drive 336 miles on a full charge. But everything gets the nice steering wheel, the 10-inch screen, as a basic entry-level 18-inch wheel, which looks a bit bland, so you really want to be specking the 19-inch wheels or choosing a model that comes with them. The ride is really quite nice. It's very smooth, very quiet. They've judged the springing and damping very well. The roads I'm on right now are actually pretty good. They're quite smooth, but if I aim for a manhole cover, it's still almost imperceptible. Now, I am so grateful for Volkswagen for doing this, because one of my biggest bugbears of all the new range of EVs that are coming out is the fact that so many of them are just SUVs, which seems ridiculously counterintuitive. Yes, it'll make people buy the things, but when you're struggling to squeeze every drop of power out of a battery, you want something that's low to the ground, aerodynamic, and with the extra weight in there, you want it ground hugging as well, so you get better handling characteristics. So they're making these big bulbous things which are fat and brick shaped, not very aerodynamic. So well done Volkswagen for doing this. The first in their new electric range, the ID range is going to be expanding pretty soon, is basically the Golf equivalent. And this is also Volkswagen's first car on their new MEB platform, which I'm sure they'll be making a lot of in the near future. Obviously, the MQB is their existing internal combustion platform, which is all the Leon's Golfs, Audi A3s and so forth, and many other cars for that matter. But the MEB will be what their electric range will be based on, and there's talk of an SUV around the corner and a hot version of this as well, which was potentially going to have a front motor as well as a rear motor, giving some pretty electrifying performance. Sorry, I couldn't resist that one. Even though it's not an SUV, because of the battery packs underneath the floor pan, you do sit fairly high up in the thing still. Certainly higher than you would in the Golf. Now, acceleration wise, it's okay. 0 to 60, 7.3 seconds, which is respectable. Although it's not the kind of car you really do 0 to 60s in repeatedly, unless you really want to be just showing off to your passengers. But it's the 0 to 30, 0 to 40 that really is quite impressive. But when you want to try and do a fast pull away, it has got plenty of gumption. Now, unlike a lot of other EVs, it doesn't use the one pedal thing, so your regen braking is kind of built in as standard, and the car will use regen braking as much as it possibly can all the time. Lift off the accelerator and you will start to see power coming back into the battery. And when you go through some corners, you can actually feel it is rear-wheel drive pushing from the back of the car, which is a nice thing as well. Now, forward visibility is really good. The windscreen is huge, and you've got these great big quarter light panels as well, so looking forwards and sideways, not a problem at all. However, the rear window is an absolute letterbox. I can barely see a thing through it. You really do need the reversing camera to work out where you're going backwards in this car. And also, when you're in traffic and changing lanes, that is a bit of a limitation. You're very much reliant on your side mirrors to try and see what's going on. So 0 to 30, I've left the Nissan behind me for dead, just pulling away from the traffic lights just there. Now the question is, do I like it? Do I enjoy driving it after the short time I've had at the wheel? Well, it's very smooth, it's very relaxing. I like much of it. I don't like the infotainment because that's too fiddly with all these buttons. As an electric car, I think it's pretty good. It's got decent range for the most part, and most of the mid-range cars seem to have a fairly respectable turn of range on them, which is a good thing. It's still obviously a lot of money because electric cars are a lot of money. Entry point at over £30,000 does mean you're putting a lot of cash down and your monthly payments are going to be fairly high, no more than any of the rivals. But if you want to drive a long way, you are going to be forced into the biggest, most expensive one, starting at 42 grand, which isn't eligible for the government grants because it's over 35,000. But when it comes to charging, if you're on a home charger, a regular domestic charger, charging from 0 to 100% will take about 9 hours. If you're on a 50 kilowatt charger, say at a station, a petrol station, it will take about an hour to go from 10 to 80%, which is reasonably okay-ish. If you've got a 100 watt charger and the 100 watt charger infrastructure in the car is a paid for option, it'll take half an hour to do the same. Well, it's now telling me to lift off the accelerator here on the screen, a little green thing to show that's a good thing to do, and that will save some power. Point and squirt around the roundabout, yep. Whoa, felt a bit lively there. Well, thanks for joining me here in the ID.3 today. I hope you've enjoyed looking at what could be your next car in a few years' time, or tomorrow if you're looking at one right now. Personally, I like a lot of it. I don't like the infotainment, I don't like these buttons down here, but I do like the rest of the car as a whole. Those little things let the package down for me, but I like the fact it's a Golf-shaped car, not an SUV. And yeah, it would make my shortlist. I might wait for the Mark II whenever that comes out though, and see if it's got better buttons and less no buttons, if that makes sense. Right, thanks for watching, and join me again next time driving something completely different.